This is Intro to Java Programming, and in this class we were supposed to come up with an idea, a program that utilizes a string methods in Java. So the first thing I want to do is open Netbeans. I already created a work folder for it. And so what I used is the Gettysburg address. That was the string that I was going to use for all the different methods that are going to be talked about below. And so the Gettysburg Address is just a paragraph it's a historical piece of literature during the Civil War. I just use this. I can use any type of text, but I use the Gettysburg Address. So the first method that we have is to count each character except for the spaces. A lot of these methods that I use in this program will always be useful. Like, say you wanted to count the amount of spaces, you wanted to remove a character or add a character, you can do it all at once and then it would just produce it in the output below. That way you don't have to go through each and every step. It seems kind of tedious to do it yourself, and it would just be easier to make a program to do it for you. So with the method for counting each character is right here. So it counts every string. It counts the number of characters in the string. And then when I run the program, it should tell me how many characters is in this whole chunk in the Gettysburg Address. And if we look below, it shows that it has 1,049 characters in that string. One thing I want to recognize is that I had to use these plus signs all the way down because it was a long piece of text which would have been on and on and on all the way down past. It wouldn't be reliable if I just left it that way. So I had to make it easier to read if I confine it into a certain amount of space. But that's what I used. I used another character to separate each method. That way I know what I'm looking for. So the next method is whether a given character is in the text. So in this one, I use the punctuation. So you have an if statement, which is like if the exclamation point, comma, semicolon, period, and so on and so forth are in the Gettysburg Address, how many are there? And so the print line is going to be the number of punctuation exists, and the string is, and then the count, which is how many there are. So if we look below, there is, how much does it say? 1,092 punctuations. And the thing about this is because I use different types of punctuation included in the if statement, it added them all together. If I just had the character exclamation point, it would have just counted only the exclamation points. Like, say I wanted to count certain numbers or specific characters in the text, I could just include them in the if statement and then add another line where it just counts the number. That way I know what to look for and how many objects I want to look at. So in this if statement, I'm looking for more than one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10 maybe punctuation marks, which are the objects that I'm looking for. And that's useful. So the next method that I'm doing is converting the string to uppercase to lowercase. So in this one, the if statement is looking for all the characters, and then converting them to a lower character. It's a small piece. It's right here, where I think it's because it's taking each character and converting it into an integer, and then taking the string and putting it into lowercase. It's a small piece of information. So there's that right there. And if we look down below, it replaced it from uppercase to lowercase. No, that's actually way down below. So I guess the next method is count the number of vowels and consonants. So in this one, it's kind of like a reiteration of the last one before, where the if statement is including everything that you're looking for. and then the amount there is. So again, it's here. The if statement is looking for A-E-I-O-U and then the number, and then another else if statement is A through Z and then the or A or Z and then the amount. So if you look below, it shows the number of vowels is 391 and the number of consonants is 615. So if we look below, the next method that we have is the length of a string. Um, so in this one, it's not just taking the length, it's dividing the length into equal segments. So I guess this would be more useful if it was a long line of numbers, or like if the numbers were supposed to represent each a certain number of certain people, and you wanted to divide each person into like four groups. But this is just a text. So they took each string, they took the string, counted the amount of characters there are, and divided it into three groups. And if we look below, it has the three groups in the first line, the second group in the second line, and the third group. They're long sentences. So if you keep scrolling, I'm sure if we count all the numbers, it would show us that they're all equal. I think it helps to know that they're all ending at the same point. That helps you know that they all have similar or equal characters. Okay, and then the next method that we have is right here. This one removes all of the white spaces in the text. I think this method isn't just removing all the white spaces. I think it's more like it removes any character that you're looking for. So in this case, I have the space bar. I have to comment it out because if I just left it as it was, it would have just I'll explain later on. So if we run the program, it's gonna show right here below the equal parts method. It shows the string after removing all the white spaces, and now it looks like a long line of gibberish, like it's hard to read because there are no spaces. And let's run it, and if we look below, I have another method where it changes the character to uppercase to lowercase. And if we look below, the reason why I commented out the removal of the white space method is because the next few lines of the methods, the next few methods that I have listed, it continues to keep that format. So it doesn't even have the spaces anymore. The string changed, and now it stored that information as a string with no spaces, and now it displays with, when I run it, it displays a long text with no spaces, all in uppercase. So when I comment it out, it's going to present that text that I stored as the original form, rather, because I don't even know how to revert it back from the edited form to the original form. So yeah, that's why I commented out, to avoid that. So I'll just leave it right now. And then the last string that I have is reversing. So the last string that I have is reversing each word. I don't even think it's reversing each word. It's reversing the whole text backwards. So I'm not gonna read it because it's not even eligible. But it's taking the last characters and putting them at the beginning, and taking the beginning characters and putting them at the end. And that's all I did.